Hi, it's both of us in the car together. It's a test drive with us. First impressions of brand new cars. We're starting here in the 2019 brand new Subaru Forester. It barely has any miles on it.
It's the Sport.
It is the Sport.
The Sport model.
Woo, sporty.
Yeah, somehow sporty. But we'll get to that in a moment.
You're watching Everyday Driver. We make a TV show, podcast,
and YouTube channels dedicated to great cars, driving adventures, and helping you find a car you'll love.
subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
This is the kind of, I need a car for life. And we need to be able to talk about this on the podcast. Fluent. We're going to become fluent in Subaru Forester Sport speak.
Well,
I'm not sure what that means.
Everything that is a normal car that you can buy. This will be only brand new cars in these kind of segments, by the way. Would you open, please, the monstrous sunroof?
Sure, I'd be
Look at
happy
this.
to.
It keeps going back.
All right.
It's going to hurt that arm.
Yeah, it is going to hurt that.
There, excellent. All right, we're moving now.
We're in the new Subaru Winnebago Sport. It's enormous.
It is enormous.
It's built on the Subaru Global Platform, which is pretty new.
Yes.
It means that most all Subarus are going to be built on this thing.
Wait. Let's moment of silence for the CVT. It does shift. That is the crazy thing about this CVT. Subaru is somehow figuring out how to make a CVT kind of make you think it's an automatic. It's still a CVT. When you put your foot in it, it hangs out at 1 RPM for entirely too long, but then, almost inexplicably, it decisively picks a new ratio.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to CVTs doing that at all.
They're so disingenuous. They're such fakery.
I have to give them props for it, though.
Such
I would
fakery.
much rather this than a CVT from everybody else that is this rubber band thing where it tries to find an RPM. This at least goes, oh, I need to do something. I need a different ratio. I'm going to pick a new one.
Yeah, but the problem that I find is, if it's a CVT and therefore it does not have any gears,
True.
it's pretending.
It is pretending.
It even shows you, when you go into manual mode here, it even shows you what gear you're in.
Yes,
so
well,
if you want to downshift,
yes, but
you're finding a new cog or ratio on the cones of the CVT,
I know.
and it's just telling you, this is what we think third feels like.
Yes,
This is not a Subaru problem, by the way. This
True.
is a CVT issue.
It is a CVT problem, but
they're fake.
But I'm genuine. Yes, continuously variable transmissions is what we're talking about. I hate them. You hate them. But I'd much rather have this than the rubber band feel. Subaru in this regard. I mean, look, it's
kind of rubber bands when you get on it. When you get on the throttle and take it all the way to 5,800 RPMs, which is peak power, by the way, then it does kind of, sort of out fake what you're feeling. You're getting this. Car should be doing different things than it is kind of feel.
True, but at least I can pick a ratio. And here's the thing: how is it a sport watch? I can go into manual mode and I have a paddle. I have a paddle to tell the CVT to pick a different ratio than it was in. Now it's picking 1 of 7 predetermined ratios. By the way, that's not 1 of 7 predetermined gears. It's just a ratio
it's
on
a
2 little
number
cones.
on your screen.
It is.
Says,
but look,
this is what 7 should feel like.
I'm downshifting, but this is what you get with the Sport. You get the ability to have these paddles. It's all the same engines. This is a 2.5 liter Boxer, of course, because it's Subaru. We're dealing with like 180 horsepower, 180 torque.
182 horsepower, and it's the updated 2.5 liter, which means it's quieter and it makes more power because, of course, the last car made 170 horsepower and they took away the manual transmission, so they just gave us this CVT option.
CVT's for everybody.
That's all they offer, and it's fine because we're in a market where this is so popular. This car is what everybody's buying.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm thinking about my sister. There's so many times on the podcast when you will write to us and you'll describe, here's the scenario that I need. The fun car's over here, but guys, what about the family kind of, I need it for all kinds of living. So this is I call this the life car. It's not the special fun toy. This is, and so I come back to my sister, my brother-in-law, and their 2 kids, who are 19 and 17, by the way. They both play the cello.
Because if you're going to pick an instrument, let's just pick a big one. And let's just go with the biggest one and let's both play it, just for fun.
So get this. The story is, when they're both, my niece is 19, she plays the cello, so does my nephew. And when they have their cellos with them, they are required by their insurance to take them out of the car into the restaurant or wherever they are.
Unbelievable.
They have to have the cellos on them at all times to be covered by insurance.
Just to make it more awkward than a cello already is.
Pretty much.
The only time that is not awkward is when you're playing it. Every other time in its life, it's just awkward to be a cellist. It just is.
Okay.
I'm going to get angry letters from cellists, I know, but tell me I'm wrong.
Starting with my niece and nephew.
Probably,
Then they come back out to a car like this, and they have to get everything back in the car, all 4 of them, and the dog, which is a Bernese Mountain Dog, that's you know, she's been around a while. She's 12 or 13, and so she has trouble getting into the car. And she's
Did
huge
anyone
and-
have a conversation with them about space? At any point,
She's
like,
120
pick something
pounds.
little. Get a
So-
Chihuahua. You've got cellos. I'm just saying. If you have cellos, you get Chihuahuas. This should be the rule.
But if you play the flute, you can get a big Bernese Mountain Dog.
Yes, you can. This
Is
should be
that
the
how
rule.
the balance is?
That's how it should. If you're
All
going to
right.
take your dog and your instrument everywhere,
course.
you got to balance the world.
Okay.
You can't have everything.
They clearly
Anyway.
haven't, but I think about this car for them because they currently have a Buick Enclave. Now think about that car.
Yeah, big.
It's pretty good size.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
what would be the next logical choice that I just want them to have car?
Yeah.
They're not kind to cars, by the way. They kind of beat on them. And if you're watching, hi family, you're not kind to cars. We all
Yeah,
know
they are.
this.
This is true.
So I'm thinking about something like this for them and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of family situation. That's where this car shines.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for, you know, turbocharged goodness and 150, 240 horsepower out of it. It's never going to be that. I don't know if Subaru is ever going to creep their way there
No, but-
with this kind of architecture.
But hang on. The Forester of the early 2000s, really boxy one with the snow shovel hood scoop, right?
It was really small, by the way.
That it was significantly smaller than this, but honestly, that was the WRX driver alternative. You could
Okay,
take those;
okay.
they were the WRX architecture underneath. You could take those and turn them into beasts. This, the turbo's gone. The CVT is here. There's no longer an enthusiast bone in this
Took
car's
away the
body.
turbo and gave you a CVT.
Yeah, that's not an
You're
even
welcome.
trade, by the way. But
Ugh.
but this has become, honestly though, an enormous family vehicle. This is the thing that I
It
think
is.
people don't realize about the Forester
Yeah.
and the Outback as well. Both of them are large. This gained actually almost 2 inches worth of rear legroom going to this version of
Yeah,
the car.
yeah.
It's got a longer wheelbase. It's bigger throughout. By the way, the visibility in this car is shockingly good.
It's a fishbowl. When this is open, you
It's
are
shockingly
driving.
good.
Seriously, it's an RV. You are
It's amazing.
way up above everybody.
Well,
Kind of.
it
Not
feels that
pickup
way.
trucks,
It
but
feels
kind
that
of.
way because of your visibility. Your visibility is
Yeah.
immense. And I don't know if you noticed this yet.
Wear a huge hat in this. Look at
You
this.
could, yeah. We'll do that next time. I don't know if you noticed this, but the A pillars. Of course, we're in
I
a
am hat guy.
scourge.
I mean, I should have
We're in
brought
a
my hat
scourge of A
collection.
pillars, where all the A pillars on everything are enormous.
Yeah.
They've actually done a really good job of making these A pillars seem thin. They're much thinner than I've been in lots of other cars.
Thin-ish.
They're still bigger because they
Yeah.
got to have airbags and 45 other things that you just
Yeah,
have.
well.
But honestly, the visibility even past the A pillar is good. I mean, literally, I can see everything I ever wanted to and more. I can see the other guy's blind spot. Honestly, it's insane.
And then there's this gigantic sunroof, which is like an oven door when it's open. You're just gonna get cooked.
Well, in the winter,
I'm gonna get
in the
cooked.
wintertime, it's nice actually. It's
Yeah,
kind of nice.
it's
to
all
see.
right. It's all right.
So, not a powerhouse. Obviously, the transmission is not an enthusiast transmission. By the way, side rant.
Uh-oh.
It's cold in Utah right now.
Yeah, you can see the snow.
Yes, the roads are genuinely slick, and press cars and rentals are all only equipped with marginally okay in the winter
They're the
all-season
they're
tires.
the tires that they would be spec'd on from
Yes.
the factory. They're just
Yes.
those tires. That's it.
I know what you're saying, and Subaru has monopolized on this, and that is they've convinced us all. Well, no, that's not fair. Subaru didn't do this, but we've all become convinced that the only thing that's safe is all-wheel drive.
Oh,
Nobody talks about tires; they talk about all-wheel
Well,
drive.
actually, in a stretch where if it is terrible weather,
Yes.
you actually see a lot of people go off,
Yes.
pickup trucks included, because they're four-wheel drive, but nobody's thinking about winter tires.
We've all been convinced, supposedly, that all-wheel drive is the only safety net. When I knew it reached too far was when we started getting emails on the podcast from people in Florida only wanted all-wheel drive. You're in Florida, you're gonna be fine. But
Anywhere in Florida.
yeah, seriously,
Pretty much.
But this only has the all season, so we are actually
Yeah.
taking it easier than we would if I were in my Lancer, for example, or you were in your big hauler with the good winter
Yeah,
tires.
right.
Unfortunately, this does not have full winters. It does have all seasons. If you get yourself a Forester, new, old, anything all-wheel drive from Subaru, they all have this good symmetrical 50/50 all-wheel drive. But go get winter tires. It is not a
Yeah.
fix-all.
Yeah.
You will still slide off the road because you didn't get good tires. I don't care what your drive wheels are. However, Subaru has monopolized on this. They are more successful than they've ever been as a brand in the U.S.
True.
And their all-wheel drive system is genuinely great.
Sitting here, I'm fine. I'm not looking for an enthusiast sporting ride. I mean,
Sure.
Subaru should theoretically offer the sport pack in blue with gold wheels and mud flaps and some rally lights across the front. That
Right
is
on.
your sport pack, not the orange stitching and the orange inserts and the, little bit higher ride height. Well, I guess it is about the same, but
It's about the same. It feels
it's
like
the
we're up here
pedals.
because of all of the visibility. We're like, I'm so high. No, I just can see. It's
Sport
crazy.
is really an acronym for I gave you paddles, so now the CVT can really just kind of fake you out and be disingenuous and tell you that it's in a gear when it's really not.
You're on that. I think they've done a good job. I hate CVTs, and yet they've done a good job.
It's fine. It's fine. And it's fine for most people, and it's fine for the market in the car.
Yes.
I actually
absolutely.
like this car. Despite my rants, I kind of like it because it works so well and
It's
it
doing
is
a great
good
job of what it's
size.
supposed to be. Absolutely. It's much bigger than you think, honestly. I think interior space, it would surprise you. Interior space, I bet you money that the back seat and the rear hatch have got as much room or more than the Cayenne. I would put money down on it. Without even having the stats in front of me, I feel confident about that.
I can see that. Well, I'm looking at the seats, and so the seats are actually elevated on their frame rails, which actually gives you a whole lot more underfoot space in the rear.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty nice back there. Subarus are bigger than they've ever been, which is
They're not small cars at
shocking.
all now. Yeah. they're not
okay.
small
So
cars.
now back to the Subaru Global Platform. The engine is almost entirely ahead of the front axle. I looked. I opened the hood and I looked. It's still the box of 4, and it's quieter because that flat 4 rumble was so offensive to some people.
Yeah, well, you want a quiet car. That's
Okay.
what most people want. They want a quiet car. Okay,
Yeah.
wait.
You haven't
That's
even reached peak power
supposedly
yet.
fourth. Oh, I'm doing okay.
5,800 RPMs, you get 182 horsepower.
Woohoo!
If only they put turbochargers on everything they make, that would be brilliant.
That's the new Subaru tagline. Subaru, turbos for everyone.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? I see it.
They should, throughout the range. I know whatever electric thing they're going to do or hybrid assist they're going to do is coming, but it could be so glorious. But
Yeah.
for most people and for the market and for the price, to keep this at $31,000,
That is shocking.
Starts
Now-
at 28 plus the options.
This is
$31,000.
It's a press car. It's loaded out. Typically, the problem we have with press cars is they can become so loaded out that you look at the price and you think, I'm sorry, but that's just not worth it. This one,
Yeah.
with everything you could ever want and get on your Forester Sport, is less than $32,000 as we're driving it, brand new. I have to say, this is one of those cars, when you look at the price tag, you go, why isn't everything this cheap? Because honestly,
Yeah.
the materials in here are good. There's a ton of space. This is a great family car.
Does anybody touch the stitching? You get into feel the stitching.
If
in
you're
the
an
interior?
automotive journalist, I think you're
I guess you
required
pretty
to.
much
So
do.
you saw that sheet of things we're supposed to do, right? Yeah, that's on there.
All right, so I'm going to get this out. This global platform,
Sorry.
which is intriguing to me, this car is now kind of the opposite architecture of a 911. The 911 is entirely behind the rear axle. This one is almost entirely in front of the front axle.
Okay, and still a boxer engine. I see where you're
And
going.
still a boxer engine, of course, but now you get a whole bunch of interior space. And then the level of this car, so just getting into this car, you almost just fall into it. You don't have to get down in. You don't
stop
have to
walking.
climb up in.
You stop
just-
walking and find yourself seated. That's really what
your
happened.
calves
Yeah.
just hit the door jam
Yep,
there,
yep.
and you fall right in, and you're fine. And I think most people are going to like that. It's
Completely.
It's easy entry.
Oh, yeah.
The whole point of the car, it's just easy and it fits your life. You can get stuff in the trunk. There's plenty of space in the back seat.
Well, but here's the thing. I drive this, and I see why Subaru is doing better than they ever have. This is a excellent do-everything product.
Don't mess with success kind of thing.
Well, but it's an excellent do-everything product. And
Yeah.
what do they do with the new version? They gave it slightly different styling, a little bit updated interior, and more space. All of those are boxes you want to check when you do your new version to sell to everyone. This is not a car with personality. It's just not. But you know what? It works. It has space. And it's perfectly good to drive.
If it were
It's
blue
not-
with gold wheels and mud flaps and cool roof rack and lights, it would have personality.
but not
And
with this
knobbies
drivetrain.
and, well,
not
then-
with this drivetrain
Then
or
you'd
this
have to
steering.
add a turbo and better brakes.
Now you've
and
just
then you'd
built
have to-
yourself a different car.
Well, yeah, but the rally version of this would be sweet, actually.
Only if it had a turbo and a stick shift.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, stick shift.
That's
would
not
make
what
it
this
nice.
is for.
Although, again, I keep ranting about this car, and I'm fine sitting here. It's just, it's great. It's got a great nav. The options are actually the nav. It has built-in Wi-Fi. You can activate that. Of course, it's a monthly charge. It's got all that stuff, and it's kind of like it gives you everything you need and nothing you really don't.
Well, that's probably the actual build sheet of what they were trying to do is do exactly that.
Sure. Ooh,
Plus-
are we going for donuts?
Well, I don't think we are because it's a CVT and
Well,
it's not going
that's
to know
true.
what gear to be in. Yeah.
If you think that somehow this car could, you lose traction in the corner and you could just goose the throttle a little and bring the back end around. No.
It's a CVT.
No.
It won't even. It
Oh,
won't
and
even spin
auto
the
start
tires.
stop.
Yeah, that has to be
Man.
killed. Okay, that's better. Yeah, if we're gonna burn gas, let's just burn gas. See, now I get to talk interior. That's what's going to happen now.
You do get to talk interior.
Because I'm not driving anymore, which, you know.
Well, what I am going to do.
And I can't text.
X mode.
Are you?
Snow and dirt. And when you turn the dial on the center here.
You probably can't see it, but it does say snow and dirt there.
And if you want extra snow and more dirt, you get D.snow. Deep snow and mud.
Yes, D snow and mud. Okay.
But not with these tires.
No.
You're not going anywhere in deep snow and mud. You're barely going in the snow and dirt with these tires.
Barely, yeah, that's true. That's fair.
All right. And the cool new upgrade for 2019, the electronic rear brake.
Yeah, everybody's going to
brake.
electronic parking brakes.
All right.
That's all that matters anymore.
See, I feel like we should be doing something kind of in
irreverent?
Sniffing distance. Something kind of something with the word hoon in it.
But the transmission's not going to allow it. It won't let you squeal the tires or anything. You floor it and it just goes, no, I'm not playing with that.
I get snowflakes on my instrument panel because it's, less than 37 degrees or something
37
like that.
is the indicator, which all those cars...
Yeah.
That's some sort of federal mandate.
Isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah.
Oh, and my lane departure is off. That's good. You can turn that off. And you can stick it into manual, which I'm going to try to leave it manual because I was in 7th at 42 miles an hour.
Well, this is how you get gas mileage. This is how you get good gas mileage. Is you get a CVT and you make it hunt at the highest end of its possible ratios.
All right. I'm feeling the weight of this car over the front wheels, especially going through turns like this. I'm feeling...
Remember, these are not winter tires. I'm just going to remind you again.
That's true.
You and I drive as if we have winter tires. This does not have winter tires.
Book it into a corner.
Yeah, and off the corner, off the cliff. We'll book it for sure, but there'll be an awkward phone call to Subaru. That's what will happen. Yeah.
Well, this is what Audi was doing up until just recently. Most of the engine was ahead of the front wheels, and it definitely affected their layout, the way they drove.
Sure, for sure. Yeah.
And I'm feeling that same kind of Audi-ish feel through the corners. We're not expecting any kind of feedback from the steering wheel because it's not what the car is designed to do. So all
my
the typical...
Forester has fantastic information coming through the wheel. I don't think that was on the list. I really don't think it was.
No, and I have to check myself because those aren't our expectations coming in.
Well,
that's not what this car was.
But it's not the market. That's the key thing. Now I have to be an automotive journalist and have to touch all the materials in order to say to you that honestly, this is a great list of materials and the great feel of materials for a car that costs $32,000.
Yeah.
Honestly, most of the time when you get in a car for $30,000 now, it still feels like they're dressing up an economy car interior. This materials-wise feels pretty high end, and it's a car that only costs $32,000. I have to give them credit on that. Look, everything's soft touch. I know this is something that only journalists obsess over. We go, oh look, stitching. It's what we do.
Stitching.
It's what we do.
Everybody has stitching. But molded in or actually stitched.
This actually has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is great. Those are both
pretty cool.
On this sport version. Here they are, which is great.
Okay, so this road is kind of rough.
Very.
It's one of our favorite shoot roads, and the beginning of this out towards the freeway is something that we always talk about with every car, like, ooh, we've got, a car coming up this hill. We don't want to actually shoot footage on this because you're just going to see us bouncing around.
Seriously, yeah.
So I'm thinking about ride quality here in this thing. And they have to have it tuned for, again, most people. They
Hopefully
just want
everything,
a good, comfortable car. And this is the car you get in, you don't have to think about. Not just from a ride perspective, but from I'm just figuring out the controls. That's something Subaru has always been good at.
True, yeah.
I can get in and I don't have to guess. I've got rotary dials. I can control the heat and the fan, and I just instantly understand the car. That is something, actually, when we just do journalist drives on random cars, kind of like this, we're looking for how easy is the car to operate just getting in it the first 10 seconds, we'll say.
This will confuse no one. You're right. It's just get in. I need that to do that. Oh, look, it does that exactly like I expect. Because it's if you will, it's a little old school, but it all works great. It all works like you think it will getting out of any other car. I take that point.
They're leaving themselves plenty of space to graduate to the next level of infotainment or digital, whatever that becomes. But this still feels like that could be off a 1980s car right there. But
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it looks higher end, but it's
It's not.
Yeah, it's like legacy switchgear, if you will. You can kind of understand, having been in a car before, that's how
Big
this works
box
here.
of legacy switchgear.
Well, you know,
We're gonna install
I don't mean
these.
Subaru legacy.
This
I mean
was
legacy
left over
as
from
it
89.
has come over before. Anyway, yeah, okay, that didn't work.
That road that we just came down, neither of us were uncomfortable in any way.
No.
And other cars were just,
Well,
jammed
most
by that
sports
road.
cars. My Lotus on that road is awful because you're just
Well,
it's constant vibration. I realize
I'd
it's
say
the
that about
other
most
end.
roads
It's the
in your
other
Lotus.
end of the car spectrum from this. I
Yeah.
realize, but that back there, you're aware that the road is not good, but it's just rocketing through it.
I'm going to use this sport transmission on the freeway here.
Uh-huh.
Jump onto the on-ramp and
I
we're
just
going to get sporty.
well, as long as we make it through the corner in our all-season tires on the slick roads, then I'll be happy. Then you can
Exactly.
go as sporty as you like.
The
I just want to
sun's
make
out.
the
What could
corner.
possibly go
yeah,
wrong? The sun's
right.
out. Got a little
what
bit
could
of-
possibly go wrong is the last words of many, many people, right along with "Hold my beer."
All right. It's up a hill. Oh, cattle guard, up a hill. It's currently floorboarded.
Here's where you're wishing for both a turbo and a real transmission.
I'm just going to take in the scenery now
Yeah,
while we're
seriously.
accelerating. Hey, look, scenery.
CVT.
Yeah, it's
Wait,
getting
gear.
loud.
We need a gear. We need a ratio.
Crest the hill. Oh, it shifted for me before I could.
Of course it did. Of course it did.
Darn it.
Yeah.
I wanted to.
It's a CVT.
I wanted
It's not
to
going to wait
extract
on you.
Every
It's
last
not going to wait
drop
on
of
you.
power out
No.
of this car.
No. I'm amazed
man.
it actually picked another ratio. That's what I got to congratulate Super for that, honestly.
Picked a ratio and showed me a number. Yay.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
that, honestly, that is kind of the sporting part of 182 horsepower and a 3,500-pound SUV.
Well, but give it credit though. We're also at 7,000 feet.
Well, true.
Naturally aspirated.
Hence
That's
the
hard.
turbocharger.
That's difficult. Yeah.
Every state that is the most popular state for Subarus, Maine notwithstanding, are mountainous states. Turbocharging.
You're right. It is the official car of the Rockies.
You'd
You're
think.
absolutely right.
Hey,
Yeah.
look, another Subaru.
Yeah.
Hey, there's one up there, too.
Of course. Yeah. It's pretty much just Subarus and trucks out today. That's really all that's out here today.
Those are the only cars that belong out here.
Uh-huh.
No, I like this car because it just feels like I don't have to think. I'm not coming to this car feeling like we're going to go drive and we're going to get some serious work done, or we're going to...
But you could drive cross country in it and
could.
let the kids throw Cheerios around in the back, and the dog in the
Spray
very back,
Cheerios.
and all of your, all
dog
of your
can throw
luggage would be
Cheerios
fine.
around now.
Probably would. It will actually. That's the reason actually you get a dog when you have little kids, because the dog just operates in cleanup mode.
Right. I would get the Sport. Because of the paddles, I would get the Sport. I would throw down for this. It just seems like the base of this wouldn't really be the car to have, despite the healthcare kind of fabric covering the door, that, the fabric that you're sitting in
But
when you're in the doctor's office.
yes,
and
but it's
you're
still
seeing an
nice.
orthopedic surgeon, whatever that is.
I'm not sure what this texture is here, but again, I'm being
It's
an auto
texture.
journalist, and I'm just touching texture
It's
to
not.
say.
It's not the
what's
pebbly
texture about.
basketball
Yeah.
grain kind of texture.
True. It's not the same thing you see in every car, just in this car.
That's true.
Yeah. A lot of piano black. Luckily, it's not piano
Yeah,
black where you're
I'm
going
waiting
to
for the
touch a
piano
lot.
black trend to go away.
Well, because you
Ready
can't
for
keep it
that.
clean. It's only good for the 5 minutes after you bought the car,
The
and then it's
dust
all
on
just
there.
smeared. Yeah.
Let's say it's clean, then a speck of dust lands on it. You're not happy anymore. But if you own this car, who cares?
Have you noticed? I'm not really sure
Just
about
hose it out when
the
you're done.
orange. The orange accents. That is actually breaking up the black. That is also something that happens on the Sport. I don't know
Yeah.
that you need the orange accents, but I'm just kind of
It
fascinated
adds
about
visual
shapes.
interest.
It does. There you go. There's the official term.
Visual interest.
Bravo. Yeah.
Like scenery, or you're looking at a painting, or you're anything. Something to break up the monotony. Like instead of just beach and sky, you've got...
Beach sky and a random orange vent.
Yes.
Excellent. That's exactly what it needs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we're upshifting to 6th. Whatever that ratio.
You have a ratio above that. You have a whole
I
7.
think they should actually show you what the ratios are and like give you a little engineering lesson.
Only you and I
while
would
you're
care.
driving. Like,
Well,
wouldn't that be
no,
more
no.
visually interesting?
Nobody needs
instead
anything
of
else
7?
to look at. We're already staring at our phones. Let's
That's
not look
true.
down at the screen for it to show us the engineering equivalent of our ratio. That's a terrible idea.
That'd be a little engineering exercise.
No, that's
So-
I will get out before that happens.
3.73 equates to 80.
Please stop. Please stop. I can't handle it.
Interesting. We're intentionally distracting you from your phone. By the way, the phone holder is kind of in the same place where every other car has it, which means you have to go digging for it, which is very distracting. I still say
Well, but-
somewhere you can actually is made for your phone or any phablet or tablet or
No.
whatever they call them. It actually would count. It would cut down on distractions.
I think no. That's why you have Apple CarPlay. That's the solve.
That's true.
For that. You have Apple CarPlay and
true.
Android Auto, so you can store your phone away. You can just put it away. You don't have to look at it or think about it. And if you need now to know what's happening, it'll come up on the screen here, which is far better than fumbling for your phone. I don't care what pocket it's in, honestly.
I just had a thought as we were coming down the hill. I thought, I need to slow down in a 182 horsepower Subaru.
Well, hey,
Who says that? Only downhill, right?
At least you're going fast enough to have that thought.
Just
that means there's nothing to worry
easing
about.
the brakes.
Yeah. If you're sitting at sea level in this car, you may have enough power. It's 3,500 pounds. It tows
Yeah.
like 1,500. It's not a powerhouse.
Oh, yeah. 1,500 pounds.
But
wow.
you're not buying this to tow a lot of stuff, and
That's
you're
true.
not buying it because it's the biggest truck on the road. However, I'm still saying it's much roomier than most things you'd think of, honestly.
It is, which comes down to that architecture.
Yep.
The engine is
Yep.
so far away from you, it could be out sitting on the front bumper.
You have to go out hunting for it.
Way
As a result,
more
I have
room in
great
the car.
leg room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is spacious. It's honestly, that has now become the Subaru niche. You don't have to think about cellos, a dog, kids, family, drive-through, spilling Chinese food all over the interior, and
All of this
you're
will happen.
fine. It does. Actually, I think it was Indian food. My family spilled
Oh.
that, and it went down into the perforated holes of the seat.
That car, you just burn that car. That's all you do. You just burn it. You don't even try to sell it
There's
again.
there's
I'm
no
sorry.
steam cleaning on the planet.
This one has had Indian food in the seats. We're
It's
sorry. We're just going to burn it. That curry you
I think
smell
it was curry
is
that
just
just
our
went
car.
right down into little perforations.
That's all bad.
And now I own that car. It's the
Oh,
Expedition.
you're kidding.
Uh-uh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I shouldn't have told you that.
It's done a surprisingly good job of not smelling like curry in spite of that. Yeah.
It does. They did a good job. But still, this car, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And for that reason, I think that most people, and their sales have proven that.
Mhm.
These things just sell.
Yes.
You see them everywhere here. Along with Model 3s, of course, which are
Yes.
now ubiquitous.
Well, it's Park City, so it's Model 3s
Yeah.
or Model X's, and that's what everyone drives. Yeah.
Yeah, this is now the equivalent of, hey, you've graduated from the Volkswagen bus and all your stuff, and you've driven cross country, and you need something that runs. Welcome to your Forester.